All right. I want to talk about before we get into the news. I want to talk about subjects leading into the news that I kind of skipped over last week, and so some addendum from this week because obviously there's big news last night. And so I wanted to talk last week about the John Fetterman and Dr. Oz election in Pennsylvania and why the nation was very much focused on that particular race out of so many. And it's obviously it's because it's like what's going on with John Fetterman. He doesn't seem like he's all there, but electing somebody who's not all there into an office is not exactly never been done before. So I mean, and you're basically de facto voting for his wife, his handlers to actually do the job. But the real issue is that Mehmet Oz, Dr. Mehmet Oz, was an outsider of Pennsylvania. He was this Hollywood celebrity, New York TV type, and trying to use his popularity to win an election. And that's why I didn't like Mehmet Oz. That's why I was like, hopefully the Democrats can do something better than this. But hey. And so he was kind of an outsider of Pennsylvania. And so I think the electorate of Pennsylvania showed that. It's like, we don't want some outsider celebrity guy, New York, slick talking New York, crudité eating city boy in here, pretending like he's one of us, And in many ways, Fetterman is more like the people of Pennsylvania. Not saying that, they have all had strokes and can't speak correctly. Not saying that at all. What I'm saying is that, they would rather have a hometown boy, than some outsider, a slick talking New Yorker. And I can appreciate that. I really can. It's in many ways, people put up with these impossible choices in many elections. And those impossible choices could be like between Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton. You know what I mean? And sometimes we have to make those impossible choices, and it's tough. It really is. It really is tough. And so there's been a lot of conservatives whining over the last couple of weeks. I'm sure if you listen to other people's stuff, along the same lines as what I do. There's a lot of disappointment about the red wave, there being no red wave. It's like, yes, we took the House, the conservatives took the House, and that means they've taken over the majority of the Speaker of the House duties. And so, but barely, but barely. And so, I think that's a good thing. I think in the end, it's a good thing. And I know I watched Milo Yiannopoulos on Timcast this past week, and he was like, he said that like a lot of these conservatives wanted a red wave because they wanted revenge. They wanted to shove it down these people's throats. And I think there's part of every person that wants a little bit of revenge, a little bit of catharsis of a red wave. But I mean, I think a red wave is kind of a bad thing, because once you start seeing red waves, you're going to start seeing blue waves more and more often. And that's not what I think is I don't think that's good for politics. In any way whatsoever. However, I will say that our republic is set up in such a way that it's highly unlikely to have a great tsunami or red or blue or even blue wave because of the nature of our elections. Because you're voting for different candidates. There's comes down in Pennsylvania, it comes down to that Fetterman, Dr. Oz vote. That's where their fight is between right and left. A lot of them say I prefer conservative, but I'd rather not have this out of town, city slicker. So I'm going to vote Democrat, even though I'm a Republican. So I mean, that happens in that particular contest. For us in Virginia, it was Yesli Vega and Abigail Spanberger, and that's where the fight was for us. But I think our republic is specifically designed to avoid, a large sweeping electoral change in Congress. And I think that that's a good thing. And I'd rather see a red tide than a red wave. And so a red tide is a good thing. So slowly taking up the House, that's fine. We take the majority of the House. All right, now we can convince some other people here to get on board. All right. Because let's be honest, there's a lot of people still turned off by what the media is saying about these conservatives. Roe versus Wade gets kicked back to the states, and there's a bunch of people who don't know the issue well enough to understand that it's like, oh no, they're going to be stuffing Jesus down our throats any second now. But they are still waking up to some of the real things that are going on. There's like these drag queen story hour stuff. It's like, what's up with that? What's up with these books you're putting in our schools? What's up with this critical race theory thing? And there's a lot of people who are kind of waking up to these facts kind of slowly. And that's how enlightenment goes. Enlightenment is a slow process, especially throughout a community. But people are slowly waking up to this fact. People are getting, school boards. People are paying more attention to their school boards because of these books that their children are, able to access through the school library. And all people, not just conservatives, but liberals as well, are more concerned about what's going on. They're like, hold on, you're teaching my kids. No matter what race you are, you're teaching my kids that, somebody's skin is different, because that guy has white skin, he's got all this privilege and shouldn't be given opportunities. It's like, that's absurd. That's anti-American. A lot of people are waking up to these facts. It's, boys can't be girls. You can't switch genders. People are slowly waking up to these facts. And this is what a red tide is. All right. And a red tide, doesn't necessarily mean that, the whole House and the whole Senate and the presidency should all be Republican. I think that that's just as dangerous as, as a Democratic majority has been. That's just as dangerous. And I think our republic is able to withstand all this. So I don't fear anything. I think that we're moving in the right direction. I think that, people are starting to be enlightened. And I think that, this whole Trump thing is really going to put a big old soggy cheeseburger in the machine. You know what I'm saying? Or should I use the classic wooden shoe sabotage analogy? Anyway, oops, I hit back. I lost my place. But I wanted to talk about Trump because last night Trump announced, it's going to be the first story. Trump announced that he's going to run 2024. So, yeah. I'm left of Tim Pool on this. I'll put it this way. I think America deserves better. I think that the Republican Party deserves better. I think the modern conservative movement in America deserves better than Donald Trump as the leader of the party. Granted, last night he wasn't as bombastic until the end when he started going off script, but he wasn't as gregarious or, loud as he usually has been in the past, but he was still boastful to the point of untruth. He was, he declared really early, like after the midterms, a couple weeks after the midterms, declares, really early for 2024. And so, I think America can do better. In a pinch, if it comes down between a vote between him and Biden, I'll vote for him. Because let's be honest, it's like I'm not afraid of him being in the office because he did a good job last time. I was happy with his performance in the job. I think he screwed it up. He started screwing up there at the end with the COVID thing. But, I think he could have caught his stride again, given a second term. I'd rather it be somebody more sane because, after all, there's a lot of people that Trump turns off immediately, and I get it. I really do. I feel in many ways like I did in 2015 and 2016, where I'm just like, I don't know if this guy's got the temperament for the job. TV reality show, sure. Business mogul, sure. But president of the United States, I don't know. I don't think so. Just because you did it once and you did it okay pretty well, doesn't mean that you can, you can't step in the same river twice, as they say. You know what I mean? It's a different ball game now. And got a lot of work cut out for you if you're going to, get to 2024. And there's a lot of crazy stuff that's going to happen between now and then. 2 years. 2 years of news cycles between now and the election of 2024 is a long time for the media to go crazy. And in many ways, I think maybe he's just trying to drive traffic to Truth Social, because I bet you he's not going to come back to Twitter. I bet you he's just going to be on Truth Social and is going to force all these journalists to create accounts at Truth Social so they can write hit pieces about him. Oh, and the media is so excited to hear this news so early because now they have something to write about. Can you imagine the next 2 years of the media just talking about Trump or how it relates to Trump or how Trump feels about something or how they feel about Trump or how Trump feels about seaweed body wraps and what Trump feels about kelp tape and what I don't know why anyone would want these questions, but they have an unending font of topics to write about because they are so unoriginal they can't think of anything else to write. You know, they just want to keep on doing as they've been doing for the last, 10 years. 10 years. Still writing about the same stuff. And they're trying to bore us out of the news in many ways. Trying to bore us out of the news. Anyway. That's all I'm going to say about that particular thing. Let's get into the news worth knowing. Imagine the thing going on. I'm probably going to have to shut off the show myself. Let's get into the news. So let's talk about, here we go again. Trump ignores GOP rivals and stolen election claims in 2024 presidential announcement. It's not true. He did kind of mention stolen election claims. He brought China into the conversation on that. So, okay, this is out of West Palm Beach, Florida. Former President Donald Trump on Tuesday announced his 2024 candidacy for president in a speech that punched hard at Democrats but skipped over his GOP rivals, staying on message in a way strikingly different from his traditional rallies. Trump spoke at a moment when the Republicans were distancing themselves from him after lackluster midterm elections for the party. GOP lawmakers, even some traditionally supportive of Trump, hoped it would delay an announcement until after Georgia Senate runoffs, fearing his rhetoric could divide Republicans and drag down GOP candidate Herschel Walker. However, in Trump's speech, his tone subdued compared to his traditional campaign rallies, avoided intra-party sniping and denials of President Biden's 2020 election victory. There was no reference to Ron DeSanctimonious, which is a horrible nickname. You're going to have to get a better one. Ron DeMantis. That's even better. I think that's better. Ron DeMantis. You should hire me, Trump. Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell or other rivals Trump has gone after recently in the past few days on his Truth Social account. So apparently he's been ranting. Oh boy, we're going to get to hear everything Trump's saying. See, that's the thing about Truth Social is like, if I had an account, I don't have to listen to Trump's truths. Is that what they call them? Truths? I don't have to listen to it. And just mute. Unfollow. Don't care. And, Twitter used to be like that too. I don't know if it still is. If you don't want to listen to somebody, don't listen to them. Anyway. But now we're going to have to because he's running. Anyway, instead, he largely focused on touting himself as the person to fix problems plaguing the U.S. under Biden. America's comeback starts right now, Trump told an enthusiastic crowd that included many members of his inner circle at various points chanted, Trump, 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 USA, USA. Of course. In order to make America great and glorious again, I am announcing tonight my candidacy for President of the United States, Trump said. We're all going to have to dust out our Trump voices. Trump hit on many of his signature issues, including crime, drugs, illegal immigration. He also covered new ground, calling for congressional term limits, regulations on stock trading for federal lawmakers, and lobbying bans for former members of the cabinet and Congress. Trump slammed Biden on his withdrawal from Afghanistan, alleging that the current president made the U.S. a laughingstock, which is true. He also attacked Biden for the U.S.'s assistance to Ukraine in its war against Russia. Perhaps the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country, Trump said, referring to Afghanistan. Most lives left Americans behind and surrendered $85 billion of the finest military equipment anywhere in the world. Unlike Biden possibly getting us into World War III, which can seriously happen, I will keep America out of foolish and unnecessary foreign wars. I fell right back into it, didn't I? It's a perishable skill, but it's not been that long. However, he painted an optimistic future of the U.S. if he is reelected. I am running because I believe the world has not yet seen the true glory of what this nation can be. We will heal our divisions and bring our people back together through incredible success. We will shatter the forces of tyranny, and we will unleash the glories of liberty for ourselves and our children, and for generations yet to come. America's golden age is just ahead. See, I'm pretty good at it, right? I don't know. It sounds different to you. When I listen back to my voice, it's like, that doesn't sound like him. Sounds like I'm in my head. Anyway, the crowd was filled with Trump loyalists, including name droppers. Roger Stone, Mike Lindell, Devin Nunes, the usual suspects. Much of Trump's family was also there, including his wife Melania, his children Eric and Barron, daughter-in-law Laura, and son-in-law Jared Kushner. Trump's presidential announcement comes several months before modern White House candidates traditionally announce their presidential bids. The midterms are not even finished, and some House races are still uncalled, and the Georgia runoffs weeks away. Trump also veered into some of his previous grievances. He griped that the media has not covered the success rate of his congressional endorsements in 2022 and alleged that China interfered in the 2020 election. He attacked Christopher Steele for his discredited dossier, slammed the FBI raid of his home, and complained about subpoenas for members of his family. However, Trump generally spent a few seconds on those issues before getting back to the message. He also attacked the use of mail-in ballots, but skipped the false stolen election claims that often come when he addresses the topic. All right, and there's the history. He lost to Biden. Former president is heavily involved in the midterms, throwing his support. Okay, this is good. The former president was heavily involved in the midterms, throwing his support behind Republican candidates across the nation. During the primaries, the majority of Trump-endorsed candidates were victorious, but many of his most important endorsements struggled and lost in the general elections, including candidates for senator and governor. And that's a very good indicator right there. Is that, if Trump supported a candidate, that means that there are areas of this country where Trump's supporting somebody is like a pariah. It makes you a pariah. I'm telling you, Trump turns a lot of people off. Turns me off quite frequently. I know he's done a good job, but it's going to be hard for a lot of people to plug their nose and vote for him. So I think America deserves better. End rant.